All right, everybody, we are live. We're going live just a couple minutes early just to kind of do some testing to make sure that we have everything together. Make sure the audio works, make sure our visual works. I'm going to go ahead. I always like going through, I like doing a little bit of testing before we get started, and that way we can solve any problems before people start dropping into the live chat. And again, let me know in this live chat over here on the right. It should be over here. Let me know any comments that you have. If you have any opinions, if you have any critiques, let me know in the live chat. I love hearing your guys' opinion as well. We are a photography community, so whatever you guys say, I will absolutely take into account. Welcome to the live chat. And the live stream. So we are going to get started here in just 1 minute. It looks like our audio is working just fine. Hopefully you guys can hear me. We got a couple people in the stream right now. And don't forget to hit that like button as well. I would really appreciate it. Let's see, we are going to open up Photoshop here in just 1 minute. So we have a handful of different critiques that we didn't get to this morning, so I would like to help some folks out and get to those this afternoon because I did promise that I would critique those photos today. So we have probably 20 or 30 photos to look at today, and it's about 3:30, so I say let's get started with this photo critique. Again, welcome and feel free to use the group chat and the live chat on the right hand side of the screen. So let's go ahead, let's open up Adobe Photoshop. And Photoshop is open. I have my photo here. I will get Dave's Bumblebee photo open and make sure we transition over to Photoshop. All right, so now you should be able to see Dave Taylor's photo of the bumblebee and the flowers. And the last live stream we did, I kind of dragged on with each critique, and each critique ended up taking about 6 to 10 minutes apiece. And in order to get through all of these in one day, I'll probably have to limit my critiques to roughly 2 minutes a piece just so we can get through them all. And I want to give everybody an equal opportunity to have their photos critiqued and shared here. So again, everything I say is going to be my opinion based on my experiences. Feel free to drop your own opinions in the chat. So let's hop right into Dave's photo of the bumblebee, which we have here in Photoshop. So this is a tack sharp photo. So again, if you missed the first live stream, what we're going to do is talk about what the photographer did well, why the photo looks good, and what the photographer could improve on in this photo or in the future. So first of all, we have Dave's photo of the bumblebee, tack sharp. So good job, Dave. I know, actually, this might not be a bumblebee. I don't know my bees. So this is a great photo of a bee, Dave. This is tack sharp. This is fantastic. I love the centered composition. It works really well. The bee is surrounded by all of these yellow flowers. There's a nice contrasting dark green in the background. The bee is dark, and we're playing with those light and dark tones, which looks great. I'm going to change this to black and white real quick, and you can see the difference between the very light tones here, the yellow, and the darker tones here, the green. And we have this kind of diagonal line, which I will show with a brush here. And you can see this diagonal line that is created with the bee. Diagonals are very, very important in photography. If you can ever find them in a composition, it usually creates a very strong composition. And we have our bee centered here. So it's very clear that the bee is the subject of the photo. And I think this photo looks great. I'm going to go ahead, turn the color back on. Would there be anything that I would do differently? Well, let's take a look. Let's look at some different crops that we could do. Maybe we crop this to a 16:9. That looks a little too narrow for me. Maybe a 2:3. Sorry, let's go this way. This is the only thing that I might do to the photo, Dave, is crop this to a 2:3 aspect ratio and make it a little more horizontal. That way our B is absolutely centered between the top and the bottom and the left and the right. But that's just kind of my opinion. I think this creates a very strong composition with our diagonal going from the upper left to the lower right with brightness. And then we also have this negative space here that kind of creates a diagonal, and our very centered B right here in the middle. So this is a great photo. Keep up the great work, and let's go ahead and let's take a look at our next photo. So we have a photo, nice portrait here. I will open up this portrait, copy, new composition, and here is our portrait. Let's go ahead, and this belongs to Tanisha. I am sorry if I'm absolutely botching your name. I'm not the best with names, so thank you so much for submitting your portrait. What I'm going to do here is open it up in Photoshop. Let's see, we have it open. Perfect. And let's take a look at this photo. So here in Photoshop, let's see what you did right. First of all, I think the light, you have a very like a high key portrait feel to this. It looks great. Composition looks really good. She is centered here. Let's see, let's look at some grid lines here. She's centered in the center third. That looks great. We have a little bit of kind of negative space over here. We have some kind of bright flowers here. In the future, what I might do is the image feels a little bit bright because this window in the back, first of all, I love this backlighting. It looks very good. The window in the back, however, might be a little bit too bright and it might be distracting from our subject. This is a high key portrait. However, we do have this kind of rope that's happening here. And the flowers are a little bit white. And then there's this pattern going on here on the right, which I think is a tiny bit distracting. So you have a great portrait. I like that the blue eyes pop out against the pink skin and the pink background. You did a great job controlling color. You did a pretty darn good job with composition too. My eye goes directly towards our subject here. The only thing I might change is the fact that it's a little bit bright. It looks like you potentially did use flash or some sort of light with this. I can see some little reflections in the eyes here that may be natural light, but this looks great. All I would recommend is bring down the brightness just a touch. It's tack sharp, looks really good. Eyes are very sharp. Bring down that brightness a touch and then just pay attention to little things that might be distracting. Like on this right hand side, we have this, let's get a color we can see. We have these interesting patterns happening over here. That's a little bit distracting. And then this area right here is kind of like this negative space that's very bright. We have this kind of wall over here, which can be a little distracting. I'm not 100% sure what that is. Maybe have the entire background, just these flowers. I love these flowers. They look fantastic. I would love to see a little bit more of them. It's okay that they're blurred in the background, but because they're so bright, they're a little overexposed. So great job on that photo. We'll go ahead. We will open up another photo here. Let's see. We have Karen's photo of a sunset. This looks really good. Copy image. There's a lot going on here. Go back into Photoshop, create a new composition. And here is a photo of a sunset. This looks really good. I absolutely love the colors of this. And there are two little things that I really like. I love the waves breaking down here, and I love that you were able to capture someone actually walking down here at the bottom. This is really cool. If I go ahead, and I hope you guys can see this, there's somebody down here walking in the waves. And I think it's hard to tell because Facebook likes to really compress images, but I think this is a seagull over here too. So that looks really cool. But I can definitely tell that's someone walking And I think that's, again, I think that's a bird over here. But first of all, composition looks really good. We have our person that is dead center right here. Our horizon is pretty close to center. I love that balance. There's a good balance of sunset, a good balance of, there's the shore right there. We have a diagonal kind of happening here with this, maybe another diagonal. Again, diagonals are very strong, but this image looks really good. Compositionally, exposure wise, I love the fact that this is a silhouette and you didn't try and expose for the ground. You let the ground kind of be underexposed here, created a silhouette here, and that really lets our eye really enjoy the sunset. Our viewer can enjoy the sunset here and not be worried about this being overexposed. So also, these two little bits of land frame this person perfectly, so you capture just the right moment of this person either walking or running in between those two areas of land there. This looks great. So one thing I like to do is kind of pay attention to tones. I'll turn an image black and white, and we have a very nice gradient of very bright in the sky, and it kind of gets darker down here towards the bottom of the frame. And that kind of lets our eye enjoy everything in the image. I kind of start around the top of the image, I enjoy the sunset, and then I work my way towards the bottom of the image, and then my eye appreciates everything in the bottom of the image. My one critique for you would be, let's draw a little line here. Drag and drop a grid line near your horizon. And it looked like the horizon was a tiny bit crooked. It might be off by like 1 degree. It's very hard to tell. It might be dead on. Yeah, so the horizon is off by like 1 degree. And because everything else in the image is so perfect, it looks just a little bit tilted. So again, this is a very, very minor critique. You have a very great looking image here. Just tiny tweak to that horizon, but this is great. Love the color, love the composition. Great job on this photograph. Let's take a look at our next image from Julia. Copy image. We'll open it up in Photoshop. Another very wide crop, or a very skinny crop. Top to bottom, it's very wide. So let's go ahead and take a look at this image of this bird. This is great. Birds are very difficult to capture if you're not familiar. I have tried capturing birds, and again, they are quite difficult. I'm going to leave a little message here in the chat. Feel free to drop comments in the live chat. So yeah, you guys, feel free to drop comments in the live chat if you have something to say about these compositions. You are more than welcome to give your opinion too. I will try and check the live chat between critiques. So Julia, this image looks great. I'm not sure what this was taken on. I'd love to know a little bit more about it. Good looking image. Like I said, I've noticed you guys are doing a lot of verticals that are kind of cropped in nice and tight, and that's very interesting. I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I do like it. It's very interesting. Your bird is very centered right here. I feel like this may have been really cropped in though. Looks like you may have taken a very wide image and then cropped it in later, potentially on your phone, but it does look good. You have the bird almost dead center here. What I would do in this particular composition is maybe just crop in a little tighter to make the bird dead center. And then I also may add maybe a touch of contrast. Maybe bring down the brightness of the sky a little bit, darken the blacks and the shadows, just a hint of contrast. Maybe that'll make it pop just a little bit more. That does for me at least. We don't need to see all of the detail in the trees. The detail in the trees can be a little bit distracting from what you're trying to show, which is the bird. So I think that would be my critique. And if we look at this image in black and white, I don't think it works as well in black and white. I think you definitely need the color. I love that little red pop of saturation and color on the bird's head and chest. I think that looks great. That's a good capture. It is difficult to capture birds, so props to you for doing that. Love to see more of your work. I'm curious to know what this was photographed on, but good job with this bird photograph. Excuse me. Chugging my hot chocolate here. Let's open this photo by Rob. Let's go ahead. We will copy this image. And I know Rob gave a little bit of a backstory here in the comments, so I will read that to you guys here in just a second. So here's Rob's photo. This is a very unique photo. I really like the colors. For starters, the colors look great. This contrasting or complementary orange, contrasting or complementing the blue, just gives a very unique color contrast. If I were to take these colors away, still a very strong image compositionally, but I absolutely love the color personally. That's just me. I think compositionally you did a great job because it's very strong this way as well. You have these leading lines here going directly towards the new Trade Center building. All of these lines are leading towards the center of the image, and I can just keep drawing these lines because this is how the perspective works. And the more lines you can draw going towards your subject, look at this, all of these lines are leading right here. So ultimately your eye is going right there towards the center of the image, which makes this a very compositionally strong image. So I'll get rid of all my ugly red lines that I drew all over your image. We'll go ahead, we'll bring the color back in this image again. I love the colors. I love the composition. I love what the light is doing here with this ring of light. That's super unique. I haven't seen that before. And I don't know if the sun is just hitting just right to make this happen, but this is a very unique image. I want to give that little bit of a backstory that you gave in the comments. This is the New Jersey 9/11 Memorial. That makes sense. It's looking across towards New York, looking across the river there called Empty Sky. But yeah, that is a beautiful image, Rob. You did a great job. And I really don't have much to say because, again, it's a fantastic looking image. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. But I think this is great, and I really don't have much to add to it. Yeah, I think you could have potentially maybe added a tiny bit of saturation to the image. I wouldn't have gone too far, maybe a couple percent, but either way, black and white looks really good, and a hint more color looks really good. You did a really good job with this, Rob. Great job. Thank you for sharing your photo with us. I love it. Let's go into our Facebook group and get the next photo from, let's see, Dearbla Whelan. Let's go ahead and open your portrait here in Photoshop. All right. And you said you're just a beginner. This is a portrait you took a while ago. You've learned a lot since, but I love it. I would say you captured a great moment of someone, and that's probably why you like it. It looks pretty darn good. So let's talk about what you did right here. I think black and white was probably the right choice. There may have been some distracting colors. It looks like there may have been some signs in the window. There's people walking by. These windows may have been different colors. The hat may have been a different color. There's probably some distracting colors here and there would be my guess. So by going black and white, what you did is you really focused on our subject here, and that's the most important part, hence the crop as well. This person just kind of blends into the background, so you did a great job using depth of field and composition. One of my only critiques is I would probably crop this image in just a touch. Take some off the top. I don't think the top of the image is really that important. And we could even lose a little bit of this lady walking right there. So I would crop in about here and somewhere. Again, this is very loose. But if this were my photo, I would probably crop in about right here. And I think that just makes it a slightly stronger image. And here's why. You can see now we have our eyes directly, almost directly on this third right here. We have our face up on the upper third, the important features of the face, the most important features, the eyes, which are the window to the soul. And now our sole focus is on our character or our subject here. and just tighten up those compositions just a tiny bit, would be my only advice for the future. Other than that, you captured a great moment. This little smirk, this little smile is great. And there's just a touch of light in his eyes, which gives some depth to the soul. A little bit of sparkle in his eye just gives the eyes some life. So that looks great. That looks fantastic. So that looks good right there. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at our next image. So give me just a second here. We have a portrait from Amanda. I'm gonna open this up real quick. Copy image, take it into Photoshop. All right, so it looks like this may have been copy and pasted from Instagram because I can see our little tag thing going on here in the bottom. That's okay. This is sharp. This is tack sharp. Our face is very sharp. I can see all of the pores. I like that I can see all of the individual hairs and the beard and the mustache. That looks great. Our horizon is nice and centered here. I think that gives us a good balance of both the sky and the ground. And we kind of have half of the image is person and half of the image is background. So that's good. Gives us a good context. I kind of like this diagonal that's created here. Just with the angle of the face and the perspective, we kind of create this little bit of a triangle here with our composition. Same thing with the front of the face. We create this triangle. The one thing that does kind of lead our eye over here, kind of wondering, the nose kind of works as an arrow. And I kind of wonder, what are we pointing at over here? Is it anything interesting? So just in the future, maybe work on blurring the background a little bit. That becomes a little more difficult if you're working with a phone, for example. There is portrait mode, but I will focus on this nice looking portrait you took and this nice reflection. I can't tell if that's an actual reflection or you added that in Photoshop. Either way, I think it looks pretty good. It's a great looking portrait. I love the light. You can see that's nice golden hour sunset light. It looks really good. And I think you did a great job with this reflection. It's a great portrait. You got rid of a lot of extraneous information. I don't need to see the hair. I don't need to see his jacket. We are focused on his face, his eyes, and more importantly, our focus is really this beautiful sunset that's happening. And we can see that echoed here in the background. So you did a good job. I don't think this image would have been as strong if we didn't see this little bit of background and sky. We wouldn't have been able to kind of connect those two as, the sky and his glasses. But I love the cotton candy pink and blue colors reflected in the sunglasses. So great job on this portrait. In the future, again, my only recommendation would be maybe blur out a little bit more of the background. So the sand looks like sand down there. We're probably on a beach. The sand and this little bit of area over here is a tiny bit distracting, but it's not that big of a deal. So great job on that portrait, Amanda. We will go ahead. I will check the live stream chat, see if we've had any comments in the live stream, and then we will continue on with our live stream here. Good job, everybody. I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone who has dropped their images here. Give me just a second. Let's go ahead. Close Photoshop. There we go. Just got some things going on my desktop, answering some messages, looking at some more of your photos. Some people have dropped some more photos this afternoon, so I'm actually going to try and include those in this live stream if we can. Next up, we have a train track image from Sanford Photography. We'll get to that here in just a second. So bear with me just a second as I answer some messages and collect some more photos here. All right, hot chocolate time. Hope you guys are having a good Friday today. I appreciate everyone who is joining. I really appreciate everyone who has submitted photos. We had 154 comments on this post for our first live stream, and we had so many photos posted that I had to split this up into two sections. Our first live stream, we were only able to get through like 10 or 12 photos because just so many photos. I really wanted to spend a lot of time on those. And you guys you've done a fantastic job on these images. And I really hope to do more of these very soon. So let me just wrap this up right here. And we'll go ahead in just a second here and get to our next image. Okay. All right, there we go. Just have my light here blocking the corner of my screen. All right, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead, save this. Yep. All right, let's get on to our next image here. Okay, emails are answered. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to open up Photoshop again. Okay, here we are in Photoshop. Let's open up, I just lost it, Sanford Photography. All right. And I apologize. Facebook likes to really scale these images down and compress them. So hopefully you guys can see this well enough. This is definitely a sharp image. It may not look good in the live stream, but it's definitely sharp. Everything is nice and sharp in this image. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at composition. The one thing I did notice is these train tracks are off center just a little bit. So if this line in the middle here was the center of the frame, let's draw a line here. You might not be able to see that. So this line right here is the dead center of the frame. If I were to say I want this image to be perfectly centered, it would be right there. Our horizon goes about right here. You can see in the background there's the horizon. The tracks being off-center just kind of bother me a little bit. I'm OCD about that kind of thing. What I would want to do is I'd want to crop this image in. Let's see what we can do. I would probably crop this image about somewhere around here. I'd love to see the tracks end at the center, and because of a little bit of an angle, the tracks end at the center. But now if we move our center line over, you can see it's not quite symmetrical. Things like train tracks that are very straight would look very good symmetrical, so I'd recommend having your train tracks symmetrical. Again, I'll emphasize that here with the brush tool. You can see they're just a little bit off. This angle is a little bit off of this angle, and it would look really cool if this rail was kind of out here. If you were standing dead center, you're kind of standing a little bit to the right of those train tracks there. So one of my recommendations would definitely be stand over to the right. The lighting looks pretty good. You have some nice late afternoon or early morning light. The sun looks like it's coming from there, shining down this way. Nice clouds in the background. And then not much really happening over here with these trees. These trees kind of just go off into the distance, but they do create some nice leading lines here. You can see the line kind of right there as well. And all of these lines lead down. There's another line kind of right here. All of these lines lead towards the center here. And so what it kind of makes me want to see is I want to see some sort of a subject here. I'm looking, and there's just kind of nothing there at the end. If there was a train there, scary situation, a train coming at you or potentially going away from you, would be a subject. There might be, a car crossing the tracks. I'm not advocating for standing in front of a moving train at all. That wouldn't be safe. But again, I want to see a subject. This is kind of an overall snapshot of train tracks, and I think it would be really cool if we could see some sort of, I think a subject in the future would make this image very good. But good capture. Great time of day. The sun isn't directly overhead. There is a bit of an angle there to the light. So good pick for time of day for that. But remember, when you're photographing, pick some sort of a subject. Like what would you like us to see? It's nice to see all these lines leading towards the center, but then once I get to the center, what is my reward for following all these lines to the center of this image? I really want to see like a solid subject. I think that would be really cool. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at our next photo. We have here art by Alan. I'm going to open up this image. Let's go ahead and create our new composition in Photoshop. And this is by Alan. Thank you, Alan, for going ahead and sharing this image with us. I appreciate it. So this is kind of a neutral feeling image. There's not a ton of color going on in it. I think that you did a really good job at capturing this kind of, let's see, it's a quiet moment. It feels very quiet and almost eerie with the fog. So if I go ahead, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is tack sharp. This looks very good. Looks nice and wide. It may have been captured on a phone. What I like about this image, bring out my handy dandy brush, the composition kind of leads us around this road this way. It's a leading line here, a bit of a leading line here, definitely a strong diagonal line here, another leading line here. Yeah, there's a bit of one here. Then we have some other lines over here. So where is my eye drawn in this image? So my eye is drawn about right here. My eye is also drawn over here because remember, diagonals are strong. We have these strong diagonal lines here, here, and then especially here. If you can see it, we have a very strong triangle. Triangles are also extremely strong in photography when it comes to composition. If you can find a triangle in your scene and frame that up towards the center and use it as an anchor point of your photograph, it's very strong. What's happening is there's this very strong anchor point here, and then I'm kind of wondering, what should I be looking at? What is the subject? Is this rock the subject here? Is this road down here the subject? Is this hill the subject? Is this rock the subject? Or is this little barricade stone wall right here, is this the subject? So it kind of makes me wonder, get rid of all those lines right there, what is the subject of this image after I drew all those lines? I feel like there could be a person standing right here. That would be a very smart place to put a person. Maybe there is, a car that's coming around this corner. So we have, you can see a car coming right here. Nice little red car with some wheels. Shoop. We'll just draw a terrible little red car there. A car coming around this corner would be really cool. This would be a subject, very strong compositionally right here. But my brain is really wanting me to find some sort of a subject. So I think you did a good job of getting a great exposure. The brightness is perfect in this image. Tonally, it looks very good. You have a nice balance of brightness and darkness in the image, but I'm kind of wondering where the subject is and what I should be focusing on. I really want to see like a car or a person or a subject, like maybe going around this corner. If you caught like the tail end of a car sweeping around that corner, or vice versa, a car coming around this way here, and maybe like about right here, there's a car there. I think that would be really cool as well. So good job, Alan. Keep working on that subject, focusing on what is the subject of our photograph. What should I be focusing on? What should I be looking at? What should what should I care about in this image? You're the photographer, you are the artist. What should I be seeing? And what is exceptional in this? What is exceptional in this scene that you're picking up your camera and saying, this is an awesome photograph that I want to share with other people? So let's go ahead. We'll get back into our Facebook group. We have a shot here from Steve. This is Steve's sunset from the garden. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this sunset. And I love sunsets and I love silhouettes. They just work so well together. Now, great capture, Steve. I love silhouettes and I love the backlighting. What's really cool about silhouettes here, you can get this backlighting happening in this straw or this grass, cattails, whatever these are, wheat. I'm not 100% sure. But there's this backlighting happening down here and it just creates this nice glow. You have this dark area that's very dark and then it's just opened up a little bit with this backlighting. Same thing here. You have this dark area here and these backlit little pieces of, wheat or straw, whatever they are. And then they kind of come up through that horizon right here. You have your sun just about right in the middle. The only thing I may do differently in this image, if I were to give you a critique, is maybe crop it in and have that sun centered. The only thing I don't like about cropping it in, then we're losing the top of these kind of pieces of straw or, again, pieces of wheat. Not 100% sure what those are. So I might crop it like this, actually. I think this is pretty strong. What do you guys think? So that's a dead center composition. That gives us our horizon down here in the lower third. Our sun is nice and centered here. What do you guys think? I think it could go either way. There's a couple different ways, and that's the fun thing about photography. There's always an infinite way you can crop things, and if infinite way you can edit things. Tonally, this image looks very good. Kind of a gray backdrop from the sky. Our sun is very bright here, so naturally our eye is going to go towards the sun, and we have this dark part. So there's a good balance here if we're just looking at the tones of the image. So that's an awesome looking sunset. I encourage you to shoot a lot more of these. You can see in this one, if we throw in some grid lines, the sun is kind of on a third over there, not quite. If we kind of throw in some very loose rule of thirds, this cloud is on a third up there, not really that important, but there's a good contrast of diagonal lines, horizontal lines, and I think you did a really good job with this image. I love the contrast. I love the way you exposed it. And again, silhouettes and sunsets are just a good way to go, and those always make awesome looking images. So let's take a look at another image here. We have an image from Jason Hicks. He says, one of my favorites. And then we have another image right after from Frederick coming up here in just a second. So let's open Jason's image. And again, I apologize that these are low resolution on Facebook. We'll try and figure out a way to open up some higher resolution images. Whether we have to use Google Drive or some other way of doing this, we'll definitely try to get some higher resolution images, because I want to show off your guys's photographs and images at a very high resolution, if that is possible, and just kind of show off, what you guys have done, so we can appreciate your images at full resolution. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to go back and we're going to take a look. Fixing some things over here. We might have some questions to answer. We got some questions here popping up in Facebook, so I'm just kind of answering things as we go. Yeah, so this Facebook group, Photography Tips and Tricks for Beginners, we stay extremely busy. We have 78,000 members from all over the world. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, our Facebook group here, we have 78,000 members. That's a lot. Almost 100,000 members. Bring up my little picture here again. Here we go. So now I actually have the page open. You guys can see this is the original post, or this is one of the posts from this morning that I made. We always have some great images being shared in this group. Thank you guys for being a part of this. I'm still trying to figure out this whole critique thing, how we want to do this, whether we want to host events or I just make Facebook posts in here. Here's the original post again, 154 comments. Thank you guys for your participation. I really, really appreciate that. And if we keep getting this amount of participation, that is awesome. And I hope it just grows. So share this group with your friends, share this group with your family. And ultimately, I hope you guys learn something. And my goal is for you all to be better photographers. And we all grow. I grow from you, you grow from me, and we all help each other just create the best images possible. So let's go ahead. We will go back to Photoshop here. Let's open up Photoshop. Here we are. We're back in Photoshop. We have a photograph here of a waterfall and some trees. Let's go ahead. That's from Jason, correct? Yep, we did Art's image. Or excuse me, we did Alan's image, art by Alan. We did Steve's sunset, and now we're on Jason's image of the waterfall. What is happening over here? Sorry, just got images popping up here and there, trying to respond to other people on Facebook. Here we go. You guys have my full attention now. We are back. We are in Photoshop. I am back mentally. Here we go. And we have this image from Jason. Thank you guys for your patience. Let's take a look here. So we have a very strong vertical composition here. Let's find my brushes. And there's a lot going on in this image. We have some kind of competing things. We have a strong vertical line here, strong vertical line here, vertical. This waterfall is a very strong vertical. We have vertical lines created here and here. And then we have these kind of competing lines horizontally happening here. So what that does is that draws my eye, right about here. This also creates kind of a horizontal line here, vertical line here with that crack. So you can see there's kind of a lot of competing lines happening here, and I'm not really quite sure where to look in this image. It's an interesting composition. There's a lot going on. It's a very cool scene, don't get me wrong. But how could we photograph this better? Let's Command-Shift-U. Our tones are pretty even here. This is probably taken midday, so tonally there's not a ton of contrast. Would it help if we added contrast? Maybe a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. We darken up some of our shadows. We brighten up the whites a tiny bit. Play with that. How does that look? I think by adding a little contrast here, we really focus on this nice rushing waterfall. And I'd really like to see more of the waterfall, maybe more textures here. I really like, this could be, I think, here's where I'm getting distracted. This is a really cool image, but I think this is like 5 images in your head combined into one. We're trying to capture this texture. We're trying to capture the pine trees, this kind of burnt forest fire wood texture, more pine tree, and waterfall. I think we're trying to capture too much in this image, and the overlap is kind of competing with each other. So I think you did a good job of capturing a lot of things. My suggestion would be a standalone photo could be this really cool texture over here, or another photo could be the way the light hits this texture right here. Same thing with this texture right here. That could be a photo. And then another photo could be right in here. You kind of look past the bark and the trees. Or here's another photo idea. Now this is going to ruin the quality of this photo, But if you were to walk right up and use these trees to frame this waterfall, this is very low resolution because we really had to crop this image. This could have been a really cool picture too. Now you have your waterfall in the background and it is framed by a tree over here, this kind of burnt tree over here. You got your really cool looking waterfall in the background here. Let's make our waterfall blue. We have our waterfall happening back here, and then it's framed up by our green trees here, here, and here. This, I think, would have made a stronger photo. Less things competing with each other, more things telling our eye to focus in on that waterfall. Again, this is a very heavy crop. I wouldn't crop this image. I would request or suggest that next time you're kind of thinking about it, figure out what the subject is. Is the subject going to be these trees here? Is the subject going to be the pine trees here? Or is your subject your waterfall? Try and focus on one subject to start with, because once you have 1, 2, 3, 4 potential subjects, your viewer gets a little bit distracted and it gets overwhelming. Like, what do I focus on? Where should I look? But good job, Jason. We next have a photo by Frederick that we're going to open up. This nice lake reflection. There we go. Close this image. This is a pretty nice looking photo. You have your horizon right here. You have this tree up here. Let's change my brush color again so we can see it. We have this tree over here kind of on the third. We have the top of the trees up here, and then this nice symmetrical reflection right there. And then my eye kind of comes around here, looks around there. My eye also likes to look at this tree, and these trees are just kind of there in the background, creating this support structure for our composition. And then we kind of, my eye wanders around the horizon right here, looking at these things going on in the fog. My eye wants to wander over at this reflection. Overall, this is a really great image. Let's look at this tonally in black and white. And I think you have a very strong composition tonally. This looks really good. It looks great. Like I said, this tree is kind of over on this third over here. And we don't have to fill up all of our thirds. We can have the eye just kind of wander around over here. And what's cool about this image, I think the fog is what makes this image, or what makes the composition. I might try maybe darken the image just a touch. What do you guys think about that? Just a little darker. Bring up that fog a little bit, add some contrast. Maybe good, maybe bad, up to you guys. Hey Roy, how's it doing? How's it doing? How's it going? Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thanks for joining me all the way from Australia. I appreciate it. All the way pretty much on the other side of the world. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who has been a part of this live stream, and everyone who has submitted their image. Thank you to Frederick. I appreciate your foggy morning photo. Morning photos are awesome to capture. That light just looks great. You did a great job. And it's not easy to wake up in the morning, let me tell you what, trying to roll out of bed and have the motivation to get up at sunrise like Frederick did and capture this image. Great job. I love the tones. One other thing you might want to think of doing, it's very cool. I'm not sure if you're going for a cool tone, a warm toned image. Up to you. It could go either way, but I think you did a really good job. The composition is great. There's nothing I would really do to change this image. However, I would say it might be cool to see an even wider kind of panoramic view of this lake. But what I think you did was focus on this tree and make this tree your subject, and you did a good job. So I'm not going to change anything about this image. I'd love to see more. So great job. Great job, Frederick. Took this while I was at work. I am very curious now to know what you do for work, Frederick. I am jealous. I think you did a great job. and I'm very curious to know what you get to do to capture such awesome images for work. So now we have this image here from Leslie. So let's open an image here. This is a portrait of someone's kid. Go back to Photoshop. Let's open up this portrait from Leslie. All right, Leslie, thank you for submitting your images. And this image at first feels a little bit bright and a little bit cool. I feel like I want to warm the image up a tiny bit. I feel very cold looking at this image. I'm not sure if the bow is supposed to be white. It has kind of a whitish blue kind of tint to it. And same thing with these shoes down here. It looks like there's some fluffy frilling going around on these shoes. They're very bright blue. I almost wonder if they were white and the white balance was made a little bit blue, because it looks like this could potentially be just going off of this little bit of light on the arm and these shadows here in the background, these diagonal shadows. Same thing here. It looks like this could have been taken late in the evening. Same thing with this speck of light, this diagonal shadow. I'm guessing this was taken in the evening or potentially early in the morning. Good choice for lighting. And I think this image is a little bit bright, in my opinion. You did a good job at framing. I would, however, probably crop this image in just a touch. You have the little extra bit of the body over here. I would probably crop this image to somewhere around here. That way, you can see here we have this bit of the body, but we don't have his body over here. We have her body, and then just his wrist and arm. And let's do the same thing so we just have her wrist right about there. And my goal would be to try and do that in camera if possible, just so that you're getting everything perfectly symmetrical in camera. And then bring that brightness down just a tiny bit. You can either lower your ISO, keep your aperture nice and wide open so our subject is in focus here. Let's get a little paintbrush so we can see what we're doing. It's great that you have your subject on the third, the upper third right here. That's fantastic. I love the color here. The orange pops out. The nice blue eyes of the kid pops out. That looks great. They are on the dead center of this composition. Excuse me. And you kind of have these arms create leading lines here and here, and everything here leads towards your subject, which is the kid in the little either peaches or apricots or fruits, the little dress here. Super cute photo. So you did a great job. My only, again, critique would be center it up just a little bit more, and I think it could be brought down, the brightness, just a tiny bit. You're kind of losing some detail in the skin, but other than that, great job, great capture. I like that. Just a little bit of a smile. I'm sure you got some other great images from this photo shoot as well. But let's go ahead. Let's look at our next image here. We have an image from Debbie. We'll open up this image. Copy image. All right, I'm going to do a quick audio and a video check just to make sure that you guys, hopefully you're still hearing me and seeing me. Take a sip of my hot chocolate here as well. Yeah, welcome, Roy. Thank you so much for joining us. All the way from Australia. I don't know what time it is right there, but thank you for taking the time, wherever you are in Australia, to join us. So, again, we are critiquing some photos from the photography tips and tricks community. I appreciate everyone that has submitted images. We have a handful. We probably have 10 or so images left to go, so we'll try and burn through these and hopefully get them all done in the next like 30 or 40 minutes. Give me just a second here so I can try and catch up. Just kind of catching up on some messages here. We still have people submitting some photos, so I appreciate you guys I appreciate everyone submitting photos. I want to make sure we get to everyone who did submit photos by last night, which was the deadline. If we have time, we will do a few more, but I don't want to go way over. I want to make sure we get to everyone's photos. So let me hop right back into Photoshop and we will take a look at this photograph here. Let's go back from Debbie. So thank you, Debbie, for submitting your snapshot to us or to me over here and sharing it with us in the community. Here we go. Now we're back in Photoshop. So let's get a paintbrush so that I can see what I'm doing. Now, so there's a lot happening in this image, and one of the first things I'll say is I'm kind of looking for a subject as well. Now, it is a cool snapshot of, you can see here, the sky up here is very foggy and cloudy, and it kind of feels like a late evening. The street lights may have just came on. It's probably a little darker because, excuse me, it was probably raining that night. The streets are wet. There's a puddle over here. Looks kind of like later in the evening, dinner time. Just kind of analyzing this photo here. We have some competing lines here. We have these lines in the road that are bringing my eye this way, and the sidewalk does the same thing. The sidewalk lines lead my eye this way. This line leads my eye here, and I'm kind of, well, this is interesting. These lights kind of create a leading line here. Same thing here. These building roofs create a leading line. These ones, I kind of have an imaginary leading line back there because I know all the roofs kind of perspectively go back here. And I feel like I want a subject right here. You have all these lines that are dragging my eyeball, my attention, into the very center of the image. So when you have a bunch of leading lines, I'll try and explain this to the best of my ability. When you have a ton of leading lines that are all leading towards the center of the image, I want to see something. So imagine like watching a movie and you go through the entire movie, and then at the end of the movie, nothing really happens. The character doesn't change. There's no real payoff in the movie. That's how I kind of describe an image that has a lot of strong leading lines. It's very compositionally strong. You have all of these lines leading directly from the camera to a subject, but then you look and there's no subject there. So it's absolutely okay to take snapshots of large environments or large landscapes, things like that. But once you start to involve all of these lines in your composition, and roads create natural leading lines, it makes me want a subject, and it makes the viewer's eye, it's just psychological. It's like arrows pointing towards the center. And I will bring back our Photoshop composition here so you guys can see a little bit more what I'm talking about. Let's bring back Photoshop. There we go. So we're back here in Photoshop. Roads create natural lines, and I want to see something at the end of this line. There are some famous photographs. I'll open one here real quick. Some famous photographs, I believe, of like Route 66, if I'm not mistaken. I'll try and find the photograph that I'm looking for. Here we go. Here is the image. So Reader's Digest image, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here in Photoshop. So this image, you've probably seen this image taken a million times. What's happening in this image, and why is this a good photograph? Why is this a good image? Well, it's because of leading lines. The color is great. This is a great landscape, and it's more than just a snapshot, because what it does, it uses these leading lines right here, and these lines lead me right up to these awesome rock formations right here. So all of these lines are leading me here, and my eye wants to look at these really cool looking rock formations. And every time I look around the image, my eyes are brought back this way. It's natural, it's psychological, because what this is this is a giant arrow. And I'll draw this in for you guys. It creates a triangle. And that is a big red arrow that points right towards the subject of our photograph. And what's the subject of our photograph? This really epic looking landscape. This is just awesome. And like I said, I think this is Route 66. I haven't personally been here. It's somewhere out in like Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, something like that. Not 100% sure. I apologize for not knowing that. But as you can see, the difference between these two images, now that I've scribbled all over this one, we'll close this image out. I'm looking for that payoff. Now the payoff can be the fog. I really like this image of the fog. But to take this photo and to elevate it above a snapshot of a road on a foggy night, I want to see a little bit more. So thank you so much to Debbie for submitting this photo. I really appreciate it. Let's take a look at a photo from Shenandoah. That's a really cool name. Yep, I did pronounce it right, I believe. Shenandoah. Here's one of your images we're going to take into Photoshop. Thank you again, Debbie, for participating in our photo critique. Keep taking photos. That's what it takes to constantly improve. And pay attention before you click that shutter button, whether it's on a DSLR camera or whether it's on your phone. Just think about it. Try and get the exact right place. Think about what you want your viewer to see or to feel, to think about, or to focus on when they're looking at your photograph, because your photograph will live on forever. Why is this moment special? Why is this scene special? Was it because it was a foggy night? Maybe we could see more of the fog if it was a horizontal. Maybe we want to focus on the lights, maybe a close-up of the lights in the trees. But good image. Keep working on your composition and keep practicing, because we all start somewhere in photography and it takes practice. So Shenandoah, thank you for submitting your image of these pretty flowers. These are gorgeous. This is awesome. Our focus is very, very clearly right dead center in the middle of this image. I'm curious to know what it would look like in black and white. Excuse me. This image is equally as beautiful in black and white, I believe. Oh, excuse me. Or in color. I think the color adds a lot. I think it may be a touch oversaturated, a little too much color. I would bring it down just a tiny bit. It doesn't have to be too much, but I would bring it down just a tiny bit. Images that are too oversaturated end up hurting your viewer's eyes after a while, and they feel like they've been a little over edited or a little over manipulated. So don't crank your saturation up usually any farther. If you're going to want to add a little more color to your image, try bringing up the vibrance, and that's typically in Photoshop or Lightroom. Most editing programs, even your phone, I believe, iPhones have a vibrance slider instead of a saturation slider. So if there's something in my image like a red or a green that's already very saturated, don't bring up that saturation anymore. Just bring up your vibrance. So this looks great, and you have a couple good things going on for you compositionally. Dead center. What I would do, however, I would bring in this crop just a tiny bit, ever so slightly. Make sure we leave your watermark in there as well. I would crop it right there. There are things that when you're OCD like me and you have a perfectionist mindset, if something is very close to being centered and it's just off center a little bit, my brain just wants to center it. And that's the way of a lot of people. They don't know how to rationalize that. So they say, and they don't know how to put that into words. So they say, your composition feels off, or it feels like it's not quite there. And what they typically mean is you're very close to having it dead on, and you're very close to it being perfect. Let's just crop it just a tiny bit and take it from being a great photo to like a fantastic photo. And for this, I think it's that tiny bit of a crop. And again, this works in color or black and white. The tonal contrast, the contrast between black tones and white tones, works very well in this image. So great job tack sharp. I love the depth of field. I love the color. The composition is like right there. So keep taking great images. This is a great shot. Shenandoah, keep sharing your images. Thank you so much. All right, Christopher Scragg Photography. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy your image of a waterfall. This looks really cool. This is really cool. All right. I always like to look, what does an image look like in black and white? I think that looks really good in black and white as well. That looks good. Go back to color and let's see. I'm going to try something real quick. Adjustments, vibrance. So you see vibrance and saturation. Here's a little trick. Saturation, if I were to crank this up, these colors start looking really ugly. They start looking orange and funky looking green. We want to leave saturation at like 0. Vibrance, however, it's a smart tool and we can turn up our vibrance. I can turn up the vibrance all the way and that doesn't look terrible like saturation does. I wouldn't turn it up all the way, side note, but I can turn up the vibrance to like 30. We'll see what it looks like before and after. Just that hint of color I think looks pretty good. And we can do the same thing with, I would like to see this image be maybe a little more contrasty. Just maybe a touch, very, very tiny bit. We'll add a little bit to the highlights. See, there's the before and after, just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. And that's the artist in me. If this were my photo, I would edit that just a tiny, tiny bit. But this is a fantastic photo, Christopher. Thank you so much for sharing. I love it. It looks great. This is an awesome waterfall. Your exposure on this is probably, my guess would be like a little under a second long. Let me go back over here to Photoshop. Here we go. Probably under a second, maybe a half second long, because this is during the daytime and it's difficult without a neutral density filter to get that exposure much longer. I almost want to see just a little bit more. I kind of want to see what's happening over here to the right and to the left. And I want to see a little bit more of this bridge. You have a very, very cool looking bridge, but I respect your composition. And as the artist, I think you were trying to focus in on the waterfall and not overwhelm the viewer with too much information. So I really like that. And you use the bridge to frame the waterfall. So I'm getting a little information, but I'm not overwhelmed by information, which is really good. Your waterfall sits here on the upper third. The only thing I might add is, let's try a very, very tiny bit of a crop. So it's a 2x3. What if we cropped to a 5x7 and got rid of a little bit of this extraneous information on the bottom? Thoughts? What if we took it even further to an 8x10? This might be too far. Let me know. And what if we did that? That helps clean up a little bit of the extra stuff on the bottom that we don't necessarily need. We could even go here. We can get rid of these leaves on the top. We really don't need anything above the bridge. We can make sure we save this rock. I love the way the light is hitting the moss on this rock. It will put the top of the waterfall right here on a third. It would put these rocks right here on a third. They're a focus of the image as well. Kind of center up our waterfall. What do you guys think of that? I tonally like to look at the image. That looks good with tones and composition. I think that looks pretty good. So my only recommendation, maybe a very tiny bit of vibrance. Black and white is always a great option. I'm sure you took plenty of photos when you're here. I'd love to see more of the scene just because, and I think this is a great skill to have as a photographer. Your image left me wanting to see more, and that's great. You never want to take so many images or show so much that the viewer is sitting there looking and saying to themselves, I wish I saw less because I saw too much. You're doing the exact opposite. You're doing exactly what a photographer should do, and that's leaving your audience wanting more. So fantastic. Great job, Chris. That's all I got for you. That's a great image. We have a photograph from Jess coming up next that I really like. I'm going to go ahead and open this photo from Jess right now. I'm also going to check our comments. No new comments yet. It looks like a couple people have left our live chat. That's okay. I'm going to keep doing these critiques. It's getting a little dark outside, so I apologize. We may be losing some light here. Hopefully it is bright enough you guys can still see me. I will adjust my camera settings if I need to. There we go. Here's a photograph that Jess shared with us. This is really good. You did a lot of really good things here. Your edit looks good. Let's bring out our paintbrush. Here we go. You have some strong thirds. This fence sits on a third. The little boy riding a bike is just about on a third. Your horizon line here is kind of a third. You have the boy's either mother or grandmother here, or maybe an aunt, family member, someone about to come catch him because he's learning. It looks like he's learning to ride a bike. And you have the boy here. He's coming this way along this path. That's a very strong diagonal. You have a lot of things compositionally working very, very well. In movie terms or cinematography terms, this would be considered like an over-the-shoulder shot. And it's almost like the perfect photo. The way you frame this with the back of the mom, aunt, guardian, whoever is taking care of him and helping him learn to ride this bike, you've created this whole story in one image. And this is like the peak of storytelling. So take this photo, put this photo in your portfolio, hold on to this photo, because this is a very, very strong image. Compositionally, very strong. The light, you took it golden hour. It's either late in the evening or early in the morning. You can tell because look at the light on his face, nice and orange. Look at the light on the sweater over here, nice and orange. And we get these nice blue shadows. So we have the contrast of light and dark, warm and cool. We have motion, we have story, we have composition. And again, we have this, we know he's coming this way towards us. He's giving this like, I'm coming towards you, I'm riding towards you. You have everything in this shot. So what I want people to look at this and realize this is like everything in a photo. Once we pause and once we break down this photo, this couldn't have been much better. If I had to be very, very, very picky, this is what I would say. I'll show you. And this again, this is me being super picky as someone who critiques photos. The only thing I might do is crop out just a touch of the sky. And see this pole here on the left? Yeah, I'd probably crop that out just a touch. Right like that. What do you guys think? Feel free to let me know in the comments if you're watching this and you're not watching it live. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys think if you're not watching in the group chat. This is how I would crop it. But again, this is me being very OCD, very picky. There's so many ways that you guys could do this. He's perfectly on the third. She's kind of on the third. You still see everything that's going on. What we're doing, we're just getting rid of that pole over there. What do you guys think? Or you can also see it as this pole over here, right here. This looks like some sort of a sign, this post, and these trees also kind of frame the image. So I'm okay with them there as well. They're not distracting. If it was a big post right in the center of the image, that's distracting. These ones towards the side, that's okay. That's not super distracting. It's off in the corner of the frame. It's a piece of the environment that you can't change, so it doesn't hurt my feelings that it's there. This is fantastic. This, like I said, it has everything. It has a moment, it has lighting, it has composition, and it has storytelling. What more could you want out of a photo? So this is fantastic. Like I said, keep this in your portfolio. This is my favorite photo so far of all these critiques. Everyone's done such a great job, but this photo, I scrolled through it. I was scrolling through the comments, and that's why I'm going to, sorry, just keep talking about this photo. Um, it's great. There is nothing that I can do to make this photo any better. The editing, I think, looks really good. It's just, this moment is perfect. You captured this. It leaves me speechless because, again, it's such a simple photo, but it's a photo we can all relate to. Most of us at some point in our lives learn to ride a bike, or we watch someone learn to ride a bike, or we had this interaction between a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a brother, a sister, help them ride a bike, watch them ride a bike. So it's something we can all emotionally relate to. And just the smile, kids have cute faces. This kid is super cute. He's got a funny shirt that says, "Sorry I'm late." That adds to the whole story of he's coming towards us. He started way back over here on his bike. He was started over here. He rode down. Let's actually. He started here on his bike. He rode down this pathway here. Draw a little arrow here. And he ended up here. So he is on a journey. It tells a story. He rode from here to here, and he's coming in on his bike, and his mom, grandma, aunt, whoever is like welcoming him back home. And his little shirt here as the punchline is, "Sorry I'm late." It's all just super cute. I will quit repeating myself over and over again, but I am highly, highly impressed with this photo. If I took this photo, this would immediately be in my portfolio or printed out. You did a fantastic job. Great job. That's great job is all I have to say. I really look forward to seeing, the other photos that you share in this community, and I appreciate it, Jess. There we go. There's another photo that Jess shared. It looked like potentially like an aunt or someone also riding the bike, and it's just a silly photo. It's cute, and I appreciate it. I probably just spent 15 minutes talking about this one photo, so let's move on to a photo of a sunset from Karen. Let's see. Where did it go? And this is a different Karen from earlier, so make sure everybody gets represented. I'm going to try and wrap this up in about 15 minutes, so I'm going to start burning through these a little bit quicker. I won't open all of these up in Photoshop, you guys. I want to make sure that we're getting to everyone's images. So I'm going to open up my screen capture. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. Let's start taking a look at images. Here we go. This is Karen's photograph. Thank you, Karen, for sharing this with us. Great looking image. I love sunsets. I am a sucker for sunsets and sunrises because they're beautiful. You did a great job capturing this, and I appreciate that you captured this little guy up here, and it looks like there's even surfers out here. Unless those are sharks or dolphins, those look like surfers out in the waves, and between the color and the composition, this is a fantastic image. Color is important. There's blues and there's oranges. They're competing or complementing each other. They're opposites, so they're working together to give us a balance. There's light, there's dark. You did a great job. I really enjoy this image. I love sunsets with clouds. Like I said, I am a sucker for sunsets because they just look so pretty. Sunsets are like a natural painting that you've been given for free that you can photograph and almost automatically get an awesome looking photograph. So thank you so much, Karen. It's a great looking shot. Again, this is another pretty good portfolio looking shot. I'd love to know more about the settings of this image. Great job. We're going to move on to a photograph from Kenzo. Thank you, Kenzo. This is really cool. This looks like it was taken at sunset as well. We have these two individuals. They're standing in a doorway, and you have very bright sun back here. Nice silhouette. There's some cars, so it looks like they're inside a building, potentially looking out towards a street. And I think these are palm trees back here. I really like this. I love the way you captured this kind of rim light over here. And it's just very cool. These individuals are also framed in this doorway. So very unique. You captured a very good moment with a strong composition. And this is another one where it's a very tonally contrasty image. So this could be a good color image, which it is. It's a great color image. This could also look and work very well in black and white. So fantastic job. Um, there's not much I can say other than it looks like maybe your focus was probably center weighted point focus, and it may have gone past these two people here and focused on the palm trees in the background. They look a little bit soft, and these palm trees back here look very tack sharp. So, my only critique or suggestion would be to make sure that if these two people in the doorway are your subjects, make sure that they are tack sharp and in focus. So, great job, Kenzo. Love this image. This is a very like cinematic feeling image. Um, Great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you for sharing your photography with us. We next have a portrait from Steven Stamp Photography. Let's see. I got to make sure you guys can see this. There we go. Nice full screen. That looks great. This is very cool. This is a very sharp looking image. I appreciate a very high resolution image. If you guys don't upload very high resolution images, Facebook will really compress them down as small as they can. So always try your best to upload the highest resolution possible to social media, especially Facebook. That way I can expand this image across my entire screen and everyone can see it, and it will hopefully look tack sharp in the live stream. Looking at the live stream right here, let's see, my face is a little bit blurry, but your image looks tack sharp. So, excuse me. Great composition. I love the backlighting. Backlighting, especially if you can get some sunrise or sunset backlighting, I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Keep up the great work. There's some techniques like this. It looks like maybe you were wearing a white hoodie or a white sweatshirt or something bright where maybe the sun was bouncing off of you. Maybe there was something bright behind you. It looks like there was a natural bounce light where the sun was coming from behind your subject over the subject's shoulder and then bouncing off something behind you as the photographer and coming back and hitting your subject. But this is a great moment. So we have great lighting, we have very strong composition, and then we have this great moment where if you guys have seen the statue of like the thinker, this is kind of what that reminds me of. He's just sitting there, just kind of thinking, contemplating, and this is one of those quiet moments. We can see the eyes, like in the window to the soul. He has a lot of texture on his hands. There's texture in his hair. There's texture on his skin. So great. And we see that little bit of smoke too. I don't want to leave that out. Great job. Keep up the great work. Let's get into a couple more. We have about 4 or 5 more photos that I will be able to get into today. Otherwise, there's a lot of duplicates. I really want to get into more of these. You guys have done a great job. I'm going to try and get through some more of these. Here we go. This is from Thin. Thank you, Thin, for sharing your photo with us. Good job. It looks like you got the subject tack sharp. It's a little hard to see. One of my only critiques, studio photos are difficult. Concert photos, band photos, anything like that, very difficult because there's so much blocking the face. And I feel like I'm missing a lot of... Okay, so let's start here. Our subject is the singer or rapper or artist in the studio, right? What's happening is this microphone is covering 50% of his face. Sunglasses are covering pretty much the other 30% of his face. So we're left with, like, I'm not going to math here, but we're left with a very, very tiny percentage of the face. And that's kind of disappointing to me as someone that's, I want to know more about this person. Tell me the story of this person. And they're completely hidden behind a hoodie and a hat and sunglasses and shadow and the pop filter here of the studio microphone. But I do really like your lighting. So good job on the lighting. Good job getting this image sharp. You captured a good moment. And it's not your fault as the photographer of what the person is wearing. But I say keep trying. I would love to see this shot tighter. And then I have a microphone right here. My microphone's not blocking my face from the camera. So bring your camera around to the side here and photograph here, because you can see I have glasses, I have a hat, I have a microphone. Very similar situation. And if you bring your camera around to the side, my microphone here is no longer blocking my face. That's why I'm not using my webcam, and I have my camera over here to the side so you guys can see my face. So that way, again, not blocking the face. Get some light over here, and that's the way you do it. Bring your camera around to the side, get nice and tight. I want to see a nice tight shot, like right here with the microphone and the eyes. The shot is right here. Get closer. If your shot isn't good enough, get closer. That is a quote from, can't even remember right this second. Henri Cartier-Bresson, if I'm not mistaken. If your shot's not good enough, you're not close enough, is the exact quote. This is a great shot, great composition. Get closer. I challenge you to get closer. But good job. Keep up the good work. Let's move on to A Frosty Morning from Jeannie. Thank you, Jeannie, for sharing this. I hope I pronounced your name right. This is gorgeous. I love the blues. It makes me feel cold. I feel very cold. And this is an image that, like I was saying earlier, you can take a landscape photo and the landscape can be the subject. Now, if you were standing in the center of this road, the road would no longer be the subject. The road would be leading you towards a subject. And if you didn't have a subject like a car or maybe a cow or a horse or a barn at the end of the road, I would be left wondering, what should I be looking for? However, what you did is you stood off of the road and you let the road kind of be your subject. It kind of meanders through the scene and you kind of follow the road. It leads you around, but it doesn't commandeer the scene. It's not overwhelming. So good job. Great job on lighting. I really like the composition. And I like the tree there. I like the little bit, you can see the moon up here, which is really cool. This tree creates some cool composition. Again, the road leads through the scene. The only thing I could say is if you want to keep showing like a story of how cold this is, show me some close-ups. Show me some close-ups of the frost. But that would work in addition to this. This is a great overall shot though. So Jeannie, good job. Thank you for sharing with us. We have a portrait from Otaku Photography. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. This is another cute kid with some clouds. And then you have a strong centered composition. So our eye is going right here towards the kid. My only critique for this one would be it's a very, very tiny bit bright. And understandably, it's going to be a bright image. These are clouds. This is a very light-skinned child wearing a white robe or toga. My guess is you were kind of going for like a Greek god, like a baby Zeus, kind of is the feel I get to it. So great job. Up in, the clouds. Awesome, awesome concept. I'd love to see more photos from this concept. I would bring my composition down a little bit. I'd like to see the whole child kind of completely encompassed by clouds. So I hope that helps you get some kind of inspiration for the future. Maybe you have more photos from this shoot, but good job, Otaku Photography. We have Jeremy Lee. Thank you so much for sharing your photo. This is a back of a Camaro, and I know this because I love Camaros. Camaros are awesome. Great job on this shot. It shows us kind of a different side of Camaros. And I know you had some comments on this photograph because some people, oh, sorry, let's go back to that. Some people thought it wasn't that interesting. And as someone who likes Camaros, I knew exactly what this car was the second I saw it. Um, and I enjoy it. This looks like a early 70s Camaro. I like the bouquet in the background, very kind of, it falls off into that depth of field, just kind of falls off into bouquet. And so this would be somewhere between like 69, 70, 71 Camaro. And if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, please call me out. But as someone who loves Camaros, I really appreciate this image. Um, this looks great. I love the composition. I love that you tried something new. The lighting looks great. I'd love to see more angles from this photo shoot. I love the contrasting orange and blue. Um, I think the brightness could come up just a touch, but that's pretty much my only critique. Um, keep shooting, keep getting out there, keep making awesome images. So we have an image now from Nautical Moments Photography. Let's see. This is a cool shot. We got the cigar, we got the whiskey, we have this old light here. We have this his like James Dean statue right here. It's kind of hard to tell who that might be. That would be my guess. Cool shot. My recommendation would be adjust your white balance a little bit. Composition looks good. Maybe try not to cut off the very tip top of the head up here at the top of the frame. And then you guys can't see it. Actually, I'll turn off my camera real quick so you guys can see it. Um, there's a little bit of a chair over here, and it kind of takes away from this cool looking kind of old image. I would go ahead and I would get rid of that chair. Just cut that out of there, crop that out. But otherwise, this is very cool. I love the light coming from here. I love the natural light coming from this window from in front of the subject. And I believe there's another light coming from the right hand side over here. So great job, cool shot, very cool environmental portrait. Keep playing with your angles and stuff, but good job hiding yourself in the mirror as well. Great job, great composition, awesome lighting. Just to take this, right up there to the next level, maybe do a tiny little bit of a crop and get rid of some of like these folding chairs and this edge of the wall here. But good job, Nautical Moments Photography. Thank you so much. Next, we have Norma shared a photo of this glorious looking eagle. This is awesome. You said this was shot with a 5D Mark IV on a 100 to 400 millimeter lens. That is fantastic. You did a really good job with this. So props to capturing this. Birds are not easy. Birds are not easy at all. So good job. Fantastic job. Sorry, just replying to images. I don't mean to get distracted. All right, just working on coordinating some things. Is my brightness okay? Do I need to move? If you guys think I need to move my little light, I will absolutely do that. I have this nice little light here. I'm not what's important. Your guys' photos are what's important. So I may just leave this right here. I may kind of bring it around towards the front. If you guys think that's okay, I will just go ahead and leave it. Or I can adjust the I'm going to adjust the aperture of my camera as well. I just want to make sure that looks okay. So great image, Norma. I didn't mean to take away from your photo at all. Centered, strong composition, a blurry background, so our background's not in focus. It's nice and blurred thanks to depth of field. Very strong compositional technique. And you caught this eagle at such a cool moment. He's like overwhelming. He looks like he's about to maybe look down and dive into his prey. This is a super cool shot. and I would be very proud to take a shot like this myself. Um, let's see. You could, if you wanted to, you could potentially crop this in just a little bit to make it a little bit tighter. Some of the trees in the background, they're not distracting. They're just extra information that you may or may not need. It's up to you. This could look cool in color or black and white, but you took a very strong image. Just like sunsets, eagles are awesome, and I am a sucker for eagles. So great job, Norma. Fantastic photo. It could use maybe a little bit of a crop, maybe a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of contrast, but great shot. And please keep up the great work. Keep sharing your images. I got to hit like on this image. I don't think I liked it yet. Um, and thank you, Norma, for sharing your photograph with us. You took another gorgeous image of a car here. Looks like a Lexus. Let's see. Yeah, it's a Lexus. I don't think I'll get to that critique this time, but thank you, Norma, for sharing your photographs with us. There's a lot of other images that people have shared that I just haven't gotten to yet, or they are doubles, duplicates. Shenandoah shared a great photo of a sunset. Harmony, who was in our other critiques, shared some great photos. I really love this photo, this fiery looking photo of a sunset. That looks fantastic. You shared a couple sunsets, which look great, and some portraits as well. I'd like to come back to these. I don't mean to skip over these images. Thank you, Harmony, for sharing all of these. Um, and we have some other images here that they're awesome. I just want to make sure we give everybody at least one critique who submitted a photo. We have an image here from Andrew. I want to get to this. Okay, first of all, I love planes. I love old war fighters, aircraft, fighter jets. So this is awesome. And I love sunsets. So you took some of my favorite things. I have a lot of photos of aircraft at sunsets. I will show that to you guys later on, not in this critique, but in the photo group. I'll share that with you guys. This is a fantastic image. And remember how earlier I talked about diagonals? Well, look at this huge diagonal that's created between the propeller going to this corner. This is like the perfectly set up shot for you. And then you have this propeller kind of almost pointing towards the corner. So there's like this imaginary, like awesome line that goes down from the propeller, down the body of the plane. There's this kind of rainbow effect here from like the oil and stuff that comes out of the exhaust. Or that might be some sort of frost, but there's some cool looking effect going on right here. And fantastic shot. This looks great. Again, another photo that could look good in black and white, but you would lose out on all these beautiful colors. The contrasting and complementary blues and pinks and purple happening here. The dark sunset. I love that this isn't an absolute silhouette. You have a little bit of color in here. I can tell that this plane is like a dark tan, a dark green, or kind of a grayish. It's reflecting a lot of light. This is a great photograph. Let me make sure that I'm actually in focus here. Let me pause this review, but great shot, Andrew. I really appreciate this photo. There we go. Still in focus. I appreciate this photo. You did a great job. Love it. It's fantastic. Let me pop up here. Let's see. Just wanted to share with you guys, just take a quick second here. If you haven't signed up for my photography insider emails yet, I do those just about once a month. Let me go ahead and I will bring this up. Sorry, I'm kind of relearning how to do all of this stuff. Here we go. So let me bring up a link to my Photography Insider newsletter, and you can click it over in the live chat. There will also be a link down in the description as well. So what Photography Insider is my little newsletter. I'm going to adjust focus here. There we go. Playing with the focus of this 50mm lens. So, Photography Insider is what I call education and inspiration. The point of Photography Insider is it's a bi-monthly newsletter, so usually twice a month, once every 2 weeks. And I spend a lot of time, I spend about a week putting this newsletter together, and it's basically a photography inspiration and education for creatives. This is good whether you're a photographer, whether you're a videographer, even a graphic designer. I put this together for you to get in that creative mindset. I usually send these out on a Monday, but I like to talk about storytelling. I like to talk about composition. I like to talk about tips and tricks for being creative, getting in that creative mindset. How do you stay inspired when things around you can be not very inspirational, maybe unmotivational? Maybe you're having a difficult week and you just need something to kind of help you push through and be a little more inspired. That's the point of Photography Insider in this newsletter. And in addition to that, I always like to share some photography tips and tricks, some composition, some art, some color theory, something like that. And sometimes even we have coming up this coming Monday, I believe, this newsletter will have a photography challenge in it. And the other thing is, this is exclusive. This is only for a limited amount of people that sign up for it. Thankfully, I do have 1,000 people that have signed up for this newsletter, which is super cool. So 1,000 people are enjoying this newsletter so far, but each article or each newsletter only goes out once and it never goes out ever again. So if you miss out on that, or you miss out on that education or inspiration, that particular article, or I've been calling them issues, will never be released again. So be sure you guys sign up for that so you're not missing a single newsletter of my Photography Insider newsletter. So again, the link will be down in the description. I'll hopefully have a comment there as well, but there will also be a link over here in the live chat so that you guys can see that. So let's go ahead. Thank you so much. If you're new here, welcome to the Photography Critique. Please come join our Facebook community, Photography Tips and Tricks for Beginners. Our banner is a very nice portrait at the top of the page. And let's go ahead. Let's get back into some critiques. And I'm probably going to wrap this up around the next 20 minutes. I'm going to burn through as many critiques as I can. I love giving critiques. I wish I had more time. But this is also, it'll end up being a very long video to watch when people are looking for their imagery. So I just want to make sure we can give everybody the time they deserve, and are able to see their photographs critiqued. So let's go back. Again, fantastic image, Andrew. This is an awesome image. Compositionally, you nailed it. Lighting, you nailed it. My one critique and my one thing that I would say that you could potentially fix is the background. Sorry, right over here. If you could have gotten a little bit lower and hid some of these, it looks like another jet or maybe some tents or buildings or something over here. If you could have hidden the horizon kind of underneath the wing, and then all we saw was plain and sunset, it would be just a slightly stronger image. So great job on that photo, Andrew. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We have an image now from, it's either Suze or Suez. Rittmeyer, thank you for sharing your photo. This is a kind of cool looking snap of, it looks like some sort of a mall. Interesting textures, very, let's see. Very busy. There's a lot going on here. It looks like our composition kind of tilted a little bit. I'd really love to see it straight. And I'm not really sure what our subject here, what is our subject here? Feel free to let me know in the comments, or in the Facebook group. There's kind of a lot to see. It kind of looks like you got kind of excited to see the scene here and snapped a photo of it, but I'm kind of wondering more about the intent of this photo. Is it more of a photograph or more of a snapshot? And I talked about this a little bit before in the other critique video. And I kind of see those as two different things. There's snapshots that we take every day. I probably take 20 or 30 snapshots on my phone every day. I see something cool, a car, I'll take a snapshot. I'll see a cool tree that I like, boom, snapshot. But the difference between a snapshot and a photograph is I took a lot of time with a photograph to get the composition just right, get that lighting just right, make sure everything kind of works in the composition. Actually, I'll do it this way, and then I'll wait for the perfect moment, get it just right, and then I will snap that photo and capture that moment. And that's the difference. It's a lot of intention and it's well produced. When you have photos that are more snapshots, it's when you see something cool and you just kind of want to document it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have some cool compositional techniques. It's very centered composition, lots of leading lines. But as we spoke earlier about leading lines, excuse me, we spoke a lot earlier about leading lines. What does the line lead to? I want to see things. I want to see a subject. So thank you for submitting your photo. I'd love to see more photos. I'd love to see you take this advice and grow with it. This isn't meant to tear anyone's photography down. We all start somewhere, and we have to take advice from other people and critiques on our images, and that's how we grow. So thank you. Let's take a look at this puppy portrait from Sarah Moore. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing this. I really appreciate it. I think this is one of the few that's actually in black and white, and I think this works really well in black and white. Strong composition, nice rule of thirds right there. The lighting is nice. This guy looks kind of grumpy. Great shot. I really enjoy the nice, very soft lighting. The only thing I would say is some of the things in the background are a little bit distracting over here. It looks like there's a bin or something here, maybe like a washing machine or a countertop over here. And there's not much you can do about that. There's a door here, other than potentially using a shallower depth of field. Maybe adding some more light to the dog and then bringing down your exposure. But again, that's a very complicated way of taking a quick snapshot of something that you find interesting or cute. So great job. The dog is very clearly the subject of the image. You did use some depth of field. He is very sharp here in the center. You did a good job using depth of field. I think it could be even blurrier potentially, kind of blur out that background in darkness. You could even brighten this whole image, and you got a little bit of room. You could brighten this image if you wanted to. You could blur the background a little bit in Photoshop, but great shot, great moment. It's not easy to capture things walking towards the camera. It's hard to get focus on things like that. So good job capturing that moment. And we have an image now from JK. It says, I love the spooky feel of this one. It's an abandoned World War I or World War II military fort. This is creepy. This is really cool. I love that these bricks are kind of wet. You have this mold or lichen or moss growing on here. Good job there. Let's see. Sorry, I got to answer a message real quick. There we go. This is cool, JK. I really enjoy. Actually, your logo is really cool too. If you don't mind, I'm going to pop this up. I just want to show this to people. This looks really cool. So I just wanted to show you off real quick and shout out your logo. This is a very cool looking logo or watermark. This is neat. I really enjoy this. So I just want to give you a little bit of a shout out. That looks awesome. I won't creep on your Facebook page. I will go back here. But I just want to give you a quick shout out to your page. That you have a very cool looking logo, and it really captured my attention, which is what you want it to. You want people to click on your logo. So good job with that. And your logo kind of matches the green of this moss, which is kind of cool over here. And then I'm left wondering with this centered composition. See, this is where leading lines are okay that don't pay off. And here's why. Because it's supposed to look creepy and spooky, right? Our subject is the cave. Our subject, let me phrase this correctly. Our subject is the mystery of what's in the cave. So we have these leading lines going here. Here's a leading line. We kind of have one ceiling leading lines. It's very hard to see. Leading line here, and then this other leading line here, and then this crack also leads us in. And naturally, caves and tunnels, like tunnel vision, they naturally lead us kind of towards like an end point, like right here. So the subject is mystery. So here we go. And I'll kind of explain this to you guys. We have these leading lines. The payoff is wondering what could potentially be creeping or slithering at the end of this cave. Is there a zombie back there? Is there a spooky ghost? Is there absolutely nothing? It's just darkness, but it makes our eye wander towards the back and it makes us wonder. And that imagination and those mind games those are great to use as a photographer. Those are great techniques for storytelling. You're telling us the story of a mystery. What is in the back of this cave? So good job, JK, on this capture. Really wanted to share that with everybody. You did a really good job. Let me try and find my spot that I was at so I can kind of get caught up, wrap these critiques up. We have this photo from Sinead O'Kane Connick. This is a very cool looking abbey at sunrise. What I love about this, very cool looking composition. I love the sunrise coming through these Gothic windows here. This looks so cool. You found a great time of day, great lighting, a great subject. The subject is this whole interior. And the light is like just kind of dancing around here, painting nice, bright orange, yellow light on the walls. And that is so cool. One of my challenges to you would be if you could get a zoom lens and just focus right there. I'm smacking things on my desk. If you could focus right here and zoom in and maybe like kind of shoot through one of the windows and focus in on just one of those kind of light painted window silhouettes, that would be super cool. So great shot. Lots of good contrast here. I think this would also be really cool in black and white. It would give it kind of a very eerie feel. So thank you so much for sharing that. You did share some other photos as well that I wanted to show off. I want to make sure we get to everyone's gorgeous sunset, by the way. And a couple other folks have shared some other shots that I want to shout out. This is an awesome looking castle. We have, that's kind of creepy looking. This is scary. Scary looking silhouette in a house. This is one of the times where a crooked horizon works really well. You have another great photo of these little berries here. Some selective color. Another foggy road. It's cool looking. And here we go. Here's a photo by Chris. And again, we have, oh man, we might have to do another live stream because a lot of folks have been submitting a lot of images and I have to go in about 9 minutes. So let's see how many of these we can do in a couple minutes. We're going to do rapid fire critiques. So this is a very cool looking image of a reflection. This is what it's like to be a photographer. Your job, all of these things are things that people would pass by and go, oh, that's a cool puddle, and they'd walk right by it. Or they wouldn't even notice it. You took the time, Chris, to stop, compose this image, and capture this really cool reflection looking through this puddle, reflected back, the light's reflecting from the sky and the trees. And it's like we're looking through the puddle into another world. If you've seen the show Stranger Things, it's kind of like the upside down. So great job. And then the inverse of the leaning lines of the trees suck us into the middle of a puddle. Excuse me again, I've been just chugging this hot chocolate here. Fantastic photo. Let's see what this, I would really like to see if you want to kind of take this to the next level. This might look cool in black and white. My challenge is to you, take more of these photos. I really love this. I want to see a whole series of puddles and reflections with puddles. So great job. Keep up the great work. We're going to look at a photo here by Delreen, but I hope I pronounce your name, Delreen. Dale Hollow Dam. Great shot. But sorry, I got distracted. Chris, keep that up. I would like to see a whole series. Show us more of your photos. And that goes to everyone who has submitted images for critiques. Keep shooting, keep getting better. I want to see all of your photos be submitted with the advice that you've taken from either me or other people, other viewers. Take that advice, and if you think that advice is going to help your work, add that advice to your work, to your process, and keep improving. I want to see more of your photos. It's very inspirational when I can teach someone something and I can watch them grow. It's just awesome to watch people grow and become better photographers. So keep up the great work. And again, that goes to everyone. I want to see more of your photos, and I want to see you grow as photographers. That's why we're all here. So, Delreen, great photo. I really appreciate how this is framed right here. You have this nice stream or creek, river, whatever you want to call it, is framed here. And again, we have another one of these very skinny compositions, which is kind of neat. I'm seeing a lot of these. Great shot, very wide angle. I would say it might look cool if you cropped off the top, cropped off the bottom, and we just kind of have this windowed view through this top railing and middle railing of this bridge here. I think that would be pretty neat. So great job, great shot, very interesting crop on here. I'd love to know more about this photo. I've never been here before. I'm not sure where this is at. But good shot, good capture. I would love to know, like, pick a subject. Is your subject the bridge or the dam, whatever is right here? Is your subject the railing, the trees? Kind of pick a subject and aim us a little more towards the subject so our eye doesn't get lost kind of wandering around the scene. But good job, Delreen. I appreciate you sharing your photograph with us. We have one called Ice Skating from Megan Brown. Thank you, Megan. Let's go ahead. You shared a couple photos with us. I want to just make sure that everybody has a chance to see your photos. Oh, this is a really cool one. I love pizza, and this photo is making me hungry, so I better hurry up. But I want to show my favorite photo that Megan took, and she called it Ice Skating. And this is another great example of very nice composition, very nice lighting, and there's a moment. She captured the moment, and you can see the blur in the hand. It was the instant right after this little girl drew this heart here on this window, and I think it's a very cute moment. It gives that emotional connection between the photographer, the subject, and the audience. So it creates this emotional conversation where you captured something, and we have a feeling when we look at this photograph. It's not just a photograph of a leaf or a tree or a rock. We're having an emotional connection with this photograph. So great job there. I think the lighting is great. It might be my screen, but it feels like it could be just a touch bright. But I like that the eyes are pretty sharp. The hat is sharp, but the focus is this heart. And I think you composed this image very well. It's a very easily read photograph. I can read this image. I can tell exactly what's going on. Compositionally, great. Lighting is nice and soft. Great. Moment. Great. So you did a good job with this. My recommendation, I would say this could be a really cool black and white photo potentially. I'd love to see more photos of this shoot. It's not easy at all capturing ice skating, but this is one of those quiet moments that I like to talk about. There are big grandiose moments, like someone at a baseball game hitting a grand slam, someone at a football game scoring a goal, fireworks going off. Those are big, loud moments. This is a quiet moment. This is something that just happens. Like I said, some people will just walk by this moment and not even think about it. A photographer will stop, notice this quiet moment, and do a really good job of capturing this quiet moment and creating that emotional connection. So great job, Megan. I know that was a fast, rapid fire critique. Fantastic job. This reminds me a lot of the the story of the boy that was riding the bike earlier that we saw earlier in the critiques. And this is a very strong image just like that. I just can't spend as much time kind of on this image, but I would keep praising this image for another 15 minutes if we had more time. But great job, Megan. Keep up the great work. I want to see more of your photos. And again, I want to show off this photo of pizza because this lighting is fantastic. Excuse me, the menu is a little bit distracting. The chairs might be a little bit distracting, but great photo. We have a shot from Jenny. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing this portrait. I'd love to see a higher resolution image of this, or higher resolution version of this photograph. This is a really cool looking portrait. I really enjoy it. You got some very cool looking lighting. We have a very centered composition. My recommendation, I'm not sure what kind of gear you have, maybe take a step back, maybe more of a panoramic shot, or potentially if you had like a 70 to 200 millimeter lens, take a step back and really compress that foreground and background, really blur out the trees and then have your subject very sharp. It's kind of hard. It looks like you've kind of done that. The background's a little bit blurry. Your subject is nice and sharp. This is a really cool photo shoot. I'm super jealous of this photo shoot. This looks like an awesome opportunity. Great job coordinating this, Jenny. I want to see more of your photos as well. Great composition, great lighting. Altogether, good job. Keep up the good work. Again, that might be another cool photo in black and white. A quick photo. Thank you, Snappy Snaps, for sharing your images. A gorgeous sunset of this beach. We have this really cool looking castle here. I'm not sure where this is at. I'd be very curious. You gave me a lot of photos to look at, so I want to share some of your photos. Another really cool photo of a pond reflection. I really enjoy this. Another, we're kind of just borderline sunset here, the sun blasting through these clouds. I'd straighten up your horizon a little bit, make sure your horizon is nice and straight. That kind of goes for, the horizon could be a little bit straighter on this image as well. Same thing with this image here. So looking at all your images, my biggest critique is straighten out your horizon. Again, we'll show off all the shots that you took here. Great sunset, great silhouette. I really enjoy this as well. So again, the common theme I'm seeing in your images, just a tiny bit crooked, but a common image or kind of problem I'm seeing is your horizons need to be straightened out. So straighten out your horizon, pick a subject as well, and you will notice a huge difference in your photography. So here's an image. I really enjoy this image. Thank you, Monica, for sharing this image. This is great. It is a silhouette, might be a little hard to tell, a silhouette of a boy fishing. It might be a little hard to see his fishing pole. And this is great. Again, I love sunsets. I love silhouettes. This is another one of those storytelling moments. You captured a person doing a thing. So when there is a person in a photograph, without this person, this would just be a landscape image of a lake and a sunset. It would be a great image. But what you did is you added a person, or you captured a person that was naturally there. So great job, Monica. And once we throw a person into our image, we have an instant, as people, as humans, we have an instant connection with another person in a photograph. We either see that person or we relate to that person as another human being. And sometimes when we don't see that person's face, we can imagine ourselves being that person. So I remember when I was a young kid, I used to go fishing on the lake all the time by myself. I'd bring my fishing pole. I would walk down to the lake, throw a worm on a hook, throw a lure on a hook, and go cast my line until sunset and until it got dark. So I can relate, and I, again, have that emotional connection. This would also, I think, look good in black and white, but you don't have to make this black and white. The color looks fantastic. Keep up the great work, Monica. Great shot. Again, another one of those storytelling images where I can just place myself in this scene. I'd like to know, do you have a horizontal crop of this image? I think that would look very cinematic. It would almost look like a movie scene if we had a nice, like, a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, kind of like the same aspect ratio of a video. It would look like a screen grab from like a movie. Great job, Monica. Keep up the great work. Keep capturing these moments of these scenes. Um, Beto, I think we did critique one of your images already. This is a fantastic looking image of a Lamborghini, so I just wanted to show this off real quick. This would be a strong black and white shot as well. So I would, without getting too deep into this, because I want to give some other people opportunities, try this shot in black and white. This looks great. And maybe pump up the contrast just a little bit. So this little bit of a distracting background over here, you could go in and you could manually maybe paint this black, have it kind of fall off into the shadow in the background. But I would definitely go ahead and see if you can kind of, you did a great job getting a sharp image. Everything kind of falls off with depth of field. We have these leading lines, but these leading lines are kind of leading us over here outside the image. So if you made these darker, kind of burned out these shadows, I think you could really benefit from making those dark black. And here's Ashley. Ashley Lowe submitted some images, and I kind of critiqued these a little bit earlier. She made a post earlier this week, and I gave her a little bit of a critique already, so I'll kind of repeat what I said. You can see her post, but she did some really great images of this like maternity shoot, and her color grading looked really good. Her lighting looked really good. Composition very strong. In this particular image, I think you could stand to maybe crop a little bit off the top here. Other than that, looks great. You kind of crop the toes a little bit. I would have maybe kept those. Other than that, great. I love your color grading, the color work you did with this. All of these are just super cute portraits and moments that you captured. Same thing here. If you wanted to, you could crop a little bit off the top. You don't have to. I actually enjoy this composition. I enjoy this headspace and this almost centered composition. So again, Ashley, you did a fantastic photo shoot. I just wanted to readdress these again because you took the time to also post these in the critique. These might look good in black and white. Again, I'm a fan of black and white, so I always suggest that someone give something a try in black and white. You may love it, you may hate it, but you learned and you tried something different. And you never have to do it again if you don't like it. So thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing those. That whole photo shoot was fantastic. Keep up the great work. Fantastic altogether. Let's see, we have Karen. This is the third Karen today who has submitted photos, so I want to give Karen a critique. Karen submitted two portraits that I think are fantastic. I love the shallow depth of field. The eyes are tack sharp in focus, and the rest of the images, or excuse me, the rest of the image just kind of falls off into soft depth of field. And same thing, this is another image that Karen submitted. Both of these, again, I sound like a broken record. Both of these I think would look good in black and white, but the color is fantastic. It's very neat that you have this kind of downward looking angle. Just in case there was anything distracting in the background, grass really isn't that distracting. So I love seeing the grass and the flower, the crown of flowers, headpiece of flowers. It all has a very natural feel to it. So I think you did a really great job there. Just going to check my video, make sure everyone can still hear me and see me. I think we're still good. Great job on this portrait. The eyes look tack sharp. This is another photo I'd love to see a higher resolution image of, and I'd love to see some of your other photos from this shoot. So great job. My only critique would be there's something over here that's white over here and white over here. And you can see it here a little bit as well. Maybe tiny, tiny, tiny bit of a crop just to get rid of those, so that would make this image from fantastic to perfect. So great job, Karen. Keep growing. I gotta like this photo. Keep submitting your photos. I want to see your growth as a photographer. These look fantastic. And next we're gonna look at Hannah. Hannah said this photo lost some of the quality moving from the iPad to the phone. That does happen sometimes. Sometimes when you email or text or airdrop a photo, sometimes they lose quality. That is a great little moment of a bird, but I really want to show off your photo of this castle over here and this beach and the sunset, the silhouette, the person. This is such a cool photo. And you said your caption was, unfortunately, I'm not a master of Photoshop and I can't remove the person. However, I would say I really enjoy this person being here. It gives that human connection, that little extra life to this image. So, fantastic image here, great composition. I typically recommend when you're photographing a horizon, you did a great job keeping your horizon straight and level. Usually, I recommend keeping the horizon on a lower third or to the upper third of an image, but here it's just about centered, and I think it looks pretty good. The castle looks fantastic, great silhouette. You could maybe move around this scene a little bit, and it would be cool. Excuse me. It would be cool if this person that you see right here was kind of separated from the background a little bit. So what you could do, I wouldn't remove them, but if maybe you had moved yourself over to the right a little bit, the person would be right here, and then they would also be like either the primary or secondary subject. One subject is the person, one subject is the castle. Right now, it's kind of ambiguous as to what the subject is. It could be the person, it could be the castle. The subject could be the person's relationship to the castle. So sometimes, like we saw with the tunnel, the subject wasn't necessarily the tunnel, the subject was the mystery. Now, in this, the subject could be the story between this person and the castle. So, if you wanted to and you were skilled with Photoshop, maybe in the future, you could move this person over a little bit. Maybe you could do something else to emphasize this person a little bit. If they had a little bit of rim lighting around them that separated the silhouette of the person from the silhouette of the background, because right now it looks like it almost could be a rock. Almost hard to tell it's a person. But Hannah, great 2 photographs. Thank you for sharing. Let's look at our final photograph. This is our final photo from Carl. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, everyone who has shared photos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my Photography Insider newsletter. I will talk about that again just real quick here. Thank you to everyone that submitted photos. Thank you to everyone who has stopped by the live stream. We have been going now for quite a while. We started at 3:30. Oh, we've been going for over 2 hours again. Thank you guys. We're going to wrap up in about 3-4 minutes after we look at Carl's photo. Thank you everyone who submitted photos. I think I got everyone. Thank you so much. I will post this. I will tag everyone in it. And I'd love to do this again very soon. It is very time consuming for me. So this may not be a once a week thing. This will probably be more like a once a month thing. And I may have to limit it to the amount of photos because you guys submitted great photos. So I'll probably say submit 1 photo and I'll probably be able to take, the first like 50 photos and I'll have to kind of do rapid fire critiques. Because I spent a lot of time doing this and I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys in this live stream. So thank you for being a part of this awesome community. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have a whole bunch of other things here. And subscribe to the Photography Insider newsletter as well. And I'll have that link down in the description, in the comments, and in the live chat as well. So Carl, it is your turn. Last, but certainly not least, we do have Carl. And Carl took this awesome photo. I'm not sure what kind of aircraft it is. It looks like a P-51 Mustang, potentially, in the sky. And this is probably some sort of a bomber, a B-29, B-27. I used to work, when I was in the Air Force, I used to work with the B-52 bomber, so I'm pretty familiar with bombers. I've got to fly in those, got to fly in some interesting aircraft. back when I was in the Air Force and I was an Air Force photographer. Great capture. This is a very cool scene. I love that you were able to capture this bomber and you cropped out the wing, but that's okay. I'm okay with that because we know it's there. You're allowed to crop things. I believe it's called the principle of continuation. Our mind knows that the rest of the plane is still there, even though we cropped a little bit out. Excuse me. I love that you captured this moment of this Mustang kind of doing this loop overhead in the sky, and you captured the bomber with it. So thank you, Carl, for sharing this image. I'd love to see more of your images from whatever this like heritage flight or this little air show flyover, whatever event this was. I love air shows. They're a lot of fun. I love capturing aircraft, as I stated earlier with, I believe it was Andrew's photo. I used to be in the Air Force. I served 8 years in the Air Force, and I was a photographer. I also did a little bit of videography, but I was primarily a photographer at first. And I have thousands and thousands and thousands of images captured inside of aircraft and of the outside of aircraft and all sorts of things. I've got to do a lot of flying and a lot of cool photo capturing moments. So great moment, Carl. The light looks great. There's not much I could do to change this image because it looks really good. Keep up the great work. I'd love to see more of your photographs. And that really kind of brings us into the end of this live stream critique. I appreciate everyone who was able to submit a photo. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate being a part of this community. I want to help this community grow as photographers, as creatives, as artists. And, you know, we can get into some other things. We can start talking about video, potentially. Video is getting very popular as well. Yeah, let's get this camera actually in focus here. There we go. That's a little bit better. But fantastic images to everyone. Thank you so much for submitting. If you get a chance, please give this video a like. That shows me that you guys enjoyed it, learned something from it. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And that helps me create things like this and give the Photography Insider, you can see it right down here, give Photography Insider a look. I'm not going to spam you, but I will send you twice a month a little inspiration and educational email, and usually a little helpful photography related video, whether it's talking about exposure or Lightroom tips and tricks, new cameras that are being released. I love talking about camera gear, but subscribe to my Photography Insider newsletter, and we have 1,000 subscribers to that already, and I get a lot of positive feedback. So thank you again to everyone from the Photography Tips and Tricks community. I'm going to post this here soon. And until next time, get out and go shoot. Thank you so much for joining this live stream. I will see you guys soon, and I hope you have a great weekend.